Christmas Eve in the UK isn't like the movies. There is no soft falling snow. There is no magic in the air. Usually, it's just rain, cold, stinging rain that turns the streets into black mirrors. My name is Opeyemi and this is my story. It was 2 o'clock a.m. I had just clocked out. I work as a porter in a hotel near the city center. It's the kind of job you take when you're a student and you need cash. I was exhausted, my legs ached. All I wanted to do was get back to my apartment, eat up a frozen meal and call my family back at home before they went to sleep. To save time, I took the shortcut. We'll all have that one shortcut we know we shouldn't take at night. Mine was a narrow paved path that ran behind an old industrial estate. On one side, a high brick wall topped with broken glass. On the other, a dense thicket of overgrown bushes and brambles. The street light there hold the buzz. They cast this sickly orange glow that makes everything look two-dimensional. I was halfway down the path, head down against the way, when I saw him. He was standing about 30 yards ahead of me, right in the middle of the path. He was facing away from me, swaying slightly. He wore a dark parka jacket, the hood and the grey jogging bottoms. Aside, great, I thought, another drunk. It's Christmas Eve. The pubs had kicked out hours ago. The city was full of people who had too much cheap lager and nowhere to go. I assumed it was just some guy trying to stop a word from spinning. Maybe even getting ready to be sick in the bushes. I kept walking. I didn't want to engage, but I had to pass him. The path wasn't wide enough for me to give him much bet. I gripped my keys in my pocket, a trick my dad taught me before I left home. If they try anything, aim for the high. As I got closer, 20 years, then 10 yards, I noticed something odd about the way he was swaying. It wasn't the rhythmic, sloppy way of a drunk person. It was mechanical, jerky. He would lean all the way forward, defying gravity, almost touching his toes, and then snap back upright instantly, too fast for a human spine. Snap, lean, snap. I slowed down. My survivor instinct whispered, "Turn around." But I was tired and I wasn't listening. "Excuse me, mate," I called out. My voice sounded loud in the quiet alley. "Excuse me, mate," I called out. My voice sounded loud in the quiet alley. "Just squeezing past." He stopped moving. He stood perfectly still, startled still. I headed to the left of the path, pressing my back against the rough brick wall. I kept my eyes on him. As I kept parallel to him, the smell hit me. It wasn't alcohol, it wasn't vomit. It smelled like copper, like old pennies and wet dog. I held my breath and tried to walk past quickly. Just as I passed his shoulder, he spoke, "Christmas!" The voice was wet, bubbling, like his throat was full of liquid. I didn't stop. "Yeah, Happy Christmas," I muttered, speeding. I took 3 steps past him. I was in the clear, then I heard the sound. It sounded like a branch snapping. I couldn't help it. I looked back. He hadn't turned his body. His feet were still pointing the way he was facing. His chest was facing away from me. But his head had rotated a full 180 degrees. He was looking directly at me over his own spine. And the face, oh God, the face. It was smooth, too smooth, like melted wax. He had eyes, but they were wide open, unblinking, and the pupils were different sizes. One was a pinprick, the other was blown wide, a black saucer swallowing the iris. And he was smiling. The smile was too wide. It stretched past his cheeks, almost reaching his ears. It was like a split in the skin, revealing too many teeth, grey, jagged teeth. I froze. My brain couldn't process what I was saying. He tittered that backward at me. "Help!" he gulped. But the voice wasn't begging. It was mocking. It was a recording of someone else's pain. Oh, I didn't think I ran. I sprinted down the orange highway, my boots slamming against the wet pavement. I expected to hear running footsteps behind me. I didn't. So I just heard slapping. Slap, slap, slap. I risked a glance over my shoulder. He wasn't running. He was on all fours. His limbs had elongated, snapping out of their sockets. He was galloping like a broken spider, moving impossibly fast. His belly scraping the floor. That smiling face still locked onto me. I screamed. A raw, perilous sound I couldn't make. I burst out of the alleyway onto the main road. It was empty, just rows of parked cars and rain. I ran into the middle of the street praying for a taxi or a police car or anything. The slappy sound stopped at the mouth of the alley. I spun around, walking backward, chest even. He was there, standing at the end of the darkness. He had stood up again. He looked almost human. if you squinted. He raised a hand, his fingers were too long, they had too many joints. He waved, a stiff, frantic wave, and then he took a step backwards into shadows and vanished. I didn't stop running until I got into my building. I slammed the door and locked all 3 bolts. I pushed the gas against my wall. I sat in the dark, clutching the knife and staring at the handle of my door. I told myself it was hallucination, exhaustion, stress. But then, the handle began to run. The handle began to turn slowly. The door creaked open, pushing the heavy desk aside like it was a cardboard. A long, pale hand crawled round the door frame, and 2 uneven eyes glinted in the shadows. It whispered just one last thing before it launched at me. Shift over. I sat bolt upright. I was dreaming. My hands clogged in the air, fighting for an attacker that wasn't there. I was in my bed. My duvet was tangled around my legs. I was drenched in cold sweat. My heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I looked around frantically. Sunlight. Weak, watery winter sunlight was streaming through my blinds. I could hear cars driving on the street outside. I could hear the normal, comforting sounds of the city waking up. I checked my phone. December 25th, 10 a.m. I slumped back against the headboard and let out a laugh. A irresistible, shaky laugh that hurt my chest. It was a dream. I whispered to the empty room. Just a messed up anxiety dream. I felt foolish. I must have come home from shift, collapsed into my bed, and let my brain cook up a nightmare because of the stress. The drunk man, the chase, the barricade, none of it had happened. I rubbed my face trying to wipe away the memory of those black eyes. I needed a shower. I needed to wash the cold off my skin. The cold sweat of my skin. I sunk my leg out of the bed, and my bare feet landed in something wet. I froze. I looked down at the floor. My laminate flooring wasn't just wet, it was covered in mud. Thick, black, industrial sludge. And there was a trail of distorted 6-toed footprint leading from my bedroom windows across the rug, right to the side of my bed. And they didn't lead the way, they stopped right where I was sitting. A cold feeling, colder than the winter air, washed over me. If the footprint had stopped here, where did the owner go? Slowly, terrifyingly slowly, I turned my head to look at the other side of my bed. The pillow next to me was indented, as if someone or something had been lying there all night watching me sleep. And on the white pillowcase, written in that same black mud, was a message. You talk in your sleep. I didn't scream. I couldn't. Because as I read those words, I heard a sound. It came directly from under my bed. It was the sound of his throat clearing. And then, a voice. My voice whispered from below the mattress. Merry Christmas.